Patrice Lumumba was the first democratically elected Prime Minister of the Congo. He took office in June 1960, 11 days after independence from Belgium. Within months, the CIA had labeled him an African Castro. President Eisenhower verbally authorized his elimination in a National Security Council meeting. CIA Station Chief Lawrence Devlin received a cable instructing him to replace Lumumba with a pro-Western group. The agency sent Sidney Gottlieb to Leopold Weil, the same scientist behind MK Ultra, carrying poison intended to be rubbed into Lumumba's food or toothbrush. The poison plan never executed. Instead, the CIA backed Congolese Army Colonel Joseph Mobutu, who arrested Lumumba and handed him to secessionist enemies in Katanga province. On January 17, 1961, Lumumba was driven to a remote location and shot 3 times. Belgian officers supervised. His body was exhumed, dissolved in sulfuric acid, and his teeth were ground down and scattered to prevent identification. One Belgian officer kept a tooth as a trophy. It was returned to Lumumba's family in 2022, 61 years later. The Congo has not had a stable democratic government since. Rafael Trujillo ran the Dominican Republic as a personal dictatorship for 31 years. He was also a CIA asset. By 1960, he had become an embarrassment, too brutal even by Cold War standards, assassinating critics on American soil and destabilizing the Caribbean. The CIA began supplying weapons to Dominican dissidents through the US consulate. On May 30, 1961, Trujillo's car was ambushed on a coastal highway outside Santo Domingo. Gunmen with weapons partly supplied through CIA channels killed him at the scene. Several conspirators were later caught, tortured, and executed by Trujillo's son. The Church Committee in 1975 concluded the US was directly implicated in the assassination plot. Declassified cables show the CIA knew exactly what was coming and did nothing to stop it. Ngo Dinh Diem was the US-backed president of South Vietnam. By 1963, the Kennedy administration had concluded he was incompetent, alienating the Buddhist majority and losing the war. The CIA passed word to South Vietnamese generals that the US would not oppose a change in leadership. On November 1, 1963, the generals launched a coup. Diem called the US embassy. Ambassador Henry Cabot Lodge told him the US had no information about his safety. The following morning, Diem and his brothers were found in the back of an armored personal courier, hands bound behind their backs, shot multiple times and stabbed repeatedly. The CIA station had advanced knowledge of the coup. Kennedy was reportedly shocked by the murders. 3 weeks later, Kennedy himself was dead. Fidel Castro was the target of more than 600 documented assassination attempts organized or sponsored by the CIA. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's the official conclusion of the Church Committee. The methods included an exploding cigar, a poisoned wetsuit intended as a diplomatic gift, a ballpoint pen converted into a hypodermic syringe loaded with a lethal toxin, poison pills smuggled into Castro's food through Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana and Florida crime boss Santos Traficante, a fungus-infected scuba diving suit, exploding seashells planted in his favorite diving spots, a contact poison designed to make his beard fall out to destroy his public image. Every single attempt failed. Castro died of natural causes in 2016 at the age of 90. Salvador Allende was the democratically elected socialist president of Chile. In September 1970, before he even took office, President Nixon told CIA Director Richard Helms to make the Chilean economy scream. The CIA funneled money to opposition groups, bribed Chilean congressmen, and backed a plot to kidnap Chilean Army Commander Rene Schneider to trigger a military coup. The kidnapping went wrong. Schneider was shot and died 3 days later. Allende took office anyway. 3 years later, on September 11, 1973, General Augusto Pinochet launched a military coup with direct US backing. Chilean Air Force jets bombed the presidential palace. Allende died inside, officially by suicide with an AK-47 given to him by Fidel Castro. Forensic examination in 2011 confirmed the gunshot wound was self-inflicted. What followed was not in dispute. Pinochet's regime tortured and killed thousands of Chileans. The CIA helped compile lists of leftists to be detained. Declassified documents show Henry Kissinger told Pinochet, quote, "We are not going to press you on this." Mehdi bin Barka was the leader of the Moroccan opposition and one of the founders of the global anti-colonial movement. On October 29, 1965, he was lured to a cafe in Paris under the pretense of a film meeting. He was seized outside, bundled into a car, and never seen alive again. French intelligence, Moroccan secret police, and the CIA had all prior knowledge of the operation. Moroccan Interior Minister Mohamed Oufkir was convicted in absentia by French courts for his role. Ben Barka's body was never found. The CIA's involvement was confirmed through later congressional investigation. France has never fully disclosed what its own intelligence services knew. Thomas Sankara was the president of Burkina Faso, known as Africa's Che Guevara. He refused IMF loans, launched mass vaccination campaigns, planted millions of trees, and renamed his country from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright people. He banned first-class air travel for government officials, sold off the government fleet of Mercedes, and rode a bicycle to work. On October 15, 1987, he was shot 12 times in a coup led by his former best friend Blaise Compaoré. The French intelligence services were present in the country and had prior knowledge of this coup. Declassified US State Department cables show American officials knew a coup was coming. Sankara's body was dismembered and buried in an unmarked grave. Compaoré ruled Burkina Faso for 27 years under French and US protection. In 2022, a Burkinabe court convicted him in absentia for Sankara's murder. Maurice Bishop was the Prime Minister of Grenada and a socialist who had cultivated ties with Cuba. On October 19, 1983, a faction within his own government placed him under house arrest. A crowd freed him. He was recaptured, taken to a fort, and executed along with several cabinet ministers. 6 days later, the United States invaded Grenada. President Reagan cited the protection of American medical students as justification. Declassified CIA documents showed the agency had been monitoring Grenada closely and had assets in place. The timing of the invasion had been prepared before Bishop's murder. Whether the CIA had advanced knowledge of or any role in the internal coup has never been fully disclosed. Omar Torrijos was the Panamanian leader who negotiated the return of the Panama Canal from the United States. On July 31, 1981, his plane crashed into a mountain. The official cause was pilot error in bad weather. Mossad agent Michael Harari, who had operated extensively in Panama, left the country immediately after the crash. CIA officer John Perkins, who wrote The Confession of an Economic Hitman, alleged Torrijos was assassinated because he refused to submit to US economic control. No official investigation concluded foul play. The classified file on the crash has never been released. Che Guevara was hunted by a CIA-organized operation in Bolivia in 1967. CIA officer Felix Rodriguez coordinated the mission on the ground. On October 8, Bolivian rangers captured Guevara wounded in a jungle ravine. He was held overnight in a schoolhouse in the village of La Higuera. The CIA wanted him alive for interrogation. The Bolivian government ordered him killed to avoid a trial that would create a platform. On October 9, a Bolivian surgeon named Mario Terán shot him 9 times. Rodriguez was present. He took Guevara's Rolex watch. He wore it for the rest of his life. Before he was shot, Guevara told his executioner, "I know you've come to kill me. Shoot, coward. You are only going to kill a man." His hands were cut off after death to prove his identity by fingerprints. His body was buried in an unmarked grave in Bolivia for 30 years. It was found in 1997.